Good afternoon, so here we are on the 8th of April 2018 and you're here with Dan in Essex UK, and what I'm doing is growing some fruit plants and bushes in some containers. So I've got here gooseberry variety Invicta, and here I have raspberry variety Polana, which is a Polish variety, and allegedly it fruits on old and new canes, so we'll see about that. And down there, I'll show you in a minute, I've got one I've already potted up, and that is variety Golden Queen, a yellow raspberry which also allegedly fruits on old and new canes, so we shall see about that. So let's just have a little bit of closer inspection. So raspberry Polana looks very nice, doesn't it? And gooseberry Invicta, good well-known UK variety of gooseberry, and I really do love gooseberries. I'm very fond of them indeed. So, and we'll tip the camera and let you see the Golden Queen just there. Okay, so I'll speak to you about my growing medium. So what I've got is I've got my empty 30-litre container there. You want as big a container as possible because they like to put out roots, and in the case of raspberries they reproduce via putting out additional canes, which is a great thing in a container as well for propagation. You can dig up the other canes as they come because you'll know they are confined within the container. Aha. At the back here, where my finger is some vegetable compost, which is some good nutrition in it, and you can purchase that. Multi-purpose compost here. And where my finger is there, some garden soil. Now I'm using garden soil because in this case it's free, but it's readily available generally, or hopefully you can got a friend or relative or someone who can give you some garden soil if you don't indeed have any. So with regards to growing fruit in a container, and indeed in the ground, you want to be aiming for a pH of around 6.5 to 7, because fruit plants and bushes in general like slightly more acidic soil than, say, if you're growing a hydrangea or a clematis in a tub. So this is why I'm not using wood ash. I'm generally fond of using wood ash for growing if I'm growing non-fruit items, but in this case I'm not going to. It's very windy, isn't it? In this case I'm not going to use it. So put these down here. Let's tip the camera again. Right, just so you can see what I'm up to, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit as well. There we go. Right, so let's start with the garden soil. Now, putting the garden soil at the bottom, because if there's any weeds in it, which there more than likely is, they are then confined to the bottom of the tub. So I'm going to put that in there like that. Next up is the vegetable compost. This is Brochure from Westland Garden Health. Very readily available, these composts. Get them off the internet, get them from your local DIY store, B&Q, Homebase, and I believe that some of the budget places have got varieties of this they sell now, very readily available. And I'm just going to break up the clumps by doing this, like that. Okay. And next up I'm going to put in some of the multi-purpose compost. Multi-purpose compost, very light, cheaper than the vegetable compost, and again, like the vegetable compost, it will have been treated or sieved, whatever they do to it, to stop weeds. There will be weeds eventually, of course, the seeds get everywhere eventually, but shouldn't be any within here. And what I like to do is dig a little hole, put a fist in it like that, and I'm going to put a little bit of water in it like that. I think they were about £2 each for the £2 for the raspberries, so £2 per cane. and yes, I think it was 2 or 3 for the gooseberry, so I was very happy. And this here has been soaking for the last few days, so very moist there. I'm not going to plunge it dry straight into the compost, so looks lovely, doesn't it? So yep, we're going to set that now. I'm going to put it in relatively deep. Push it like that. So when you think of raspberries, you often think of a whole row, don't you? That you see it near allotment or in someone's garden. Pretty deep like that. And what I'm going to do is gently remove that. And what I like to do is I like to keep my sign there, because I like to know what I'm growing. I mean, to some people a raspberry is a raspberry, but you know, it's a bit like what car you're driving. Someone says to you, what car do you drive? You don't say a blue one, do you? You generally say what it is. So I'm going to do, so a nice raspberry there. Now these will take a few years to get going, but once they're going they should crop well. And just going to water that in. A little bit more like that. Well, now we're going to start work on the gooseberry. Right, so in the bottom I've got the garden soil, and so you see some nice fibrous roots on this. Very healthy plant indeed. And look at all this growth, considering how early we are in the season. Looks like a good strong plant. So next up is the vegetable compost. And then put the normal multi-purpose compost in, like so. Now as we're a little bit low, I'm going to just put a little bit more vegetable compost in. Want to get as much soil in there as possible. That'll be fine. So let's move this around. Really can feel how nice with the organic matter this vegetable compost is. Okay, so I'm going to make my hole same as I did before, like so, and just going to proceed to just prise these roots open, not too much, but just so they can put a bit of growth. Look at that, nice. Little bit of water, like the raspberries. This gooseberry's been soaking, so it's not a problem. So we get the mud off the roots, off the stems rather. Okay, put that in like that. Nicely spaced out roots. Oh yeah, prickly. It's often advisable to wear gloves when dealing with gooseberries. Oh yes, push that down. So highly unlikely any fruit this year. Definitely no fruit of the raspberries this year. Well, shouldn't say that. Who knows actually? Might be pleasantly surprised. Probably it will establish this year, and then some fruit off the raspberries next year. And gooseberries. If it puts out a good bit of growth this year, might get some fruit next year. That's nice, that is. So when you're choosing the fruit that you're going to be growing in the container, you want to be looking at several things. One thing we're looking at is, do you actually like the fruit? Do you want the fruit, and will the fruit grow in your climate? For example, gooseberries and raspberries, I can leave them outside here all year round and they'll be okay. If it was a certain, say a banana plant or a certain varieties of citrus, they wouldn't survive the cold here. Although there is a Japanese banana plant that will die back during the winter period and then proceed to regrow the following summer. But generally you want to be looking at growing something that will grow well in your climate. Gooseberries love the UK climate, they thrive here. Raspberries do well here. Strawberries do well. You could grow an apple tree on a dwarf rootstock in a container like this, as long as it's a large container. Plums, cherries, something like this. This minaret you could grow. So make sure that what you're going to grow is that you want it, and make sure that it will grow in your climate. Although of course you could grow something in a container and find a way to overwinter it if it's not suitable to grow in this climate outside. You can also grow grapes in containers like this. Yeah, I'm expecting some good things off of this. So what I have in front of me here is an apple rootstock, and what I intend to do is to graft some varieties of apple onto this. Now, grafting is a very interesting thing because this is where you can propagate apples, pears, etc. true to type, which means the graft that you graft on will be the variety that will continue on from that piece of wood onwards. So, for instance, let's talk a bit about the varieties that I'm going to be grafting. So, Queen Cox, Winter King, Pitmaster Pineapple. My spelling is wrong there. Queen Cox, said to have all the good things about the Cox apple. Winter King, a long keeping apple which can keep well into the following year if stored under correct conditions. And Pitmaster Pineapple, which tastes, guess what, like pineapple. So these came from Stephen Hayes. So if you like any of my work, you should certainly check out his work, because probably out of everyone in regards to the gardening, I found his channel probably certainly the most inspiring with regards to me getting onto YouTube. So let's start off with some grafting here. So I'm going to open these. Be very careful you don't mark the wood. And we will start with the Queen Cox. So there we go. Been keeping these moist. 4 scions here. So I will show you my grafting kit. Right, in my grafting kit I have several things. I have an Opinel 6 knife. Grafting tape, like flower arranging tape, and quite a good book you might want to check out, Grafting Fruit Trees. Okay, and some secateurs. I like Felco 2s. I think these are really good secateurs. I use them for my work and I use them for my own hobby gardening as well. So let's get up close and do some grafting. So when you're selecting your rootstock, you have to graft an apple onto an apple. If you're grafting a pear, you can graft a pear onto a pear, but generally pears are grafted onto quince rootstocks. You couldn't graft, say, a cherry onto an apple. So what we're going to do is have a look here. Now I've got 3 bits of wood here. And what I'm going to do is start the graft here. Nice clean cut there. Nice clean cut here. Nice clean cut here. I'm going to leave that one for any subsequent grafting in the future. And what I like to do is get my grafting knife. Just check you can see that. Yep, you can. You've got to be very careful doing this. Make an incision like that. Another way of doing it, as long as they're sharp, you can get your secateurs and you can do it like that. This is a form of cleft graft. Would you do it like that? Then what I'm going to do is get my Queen Cox scion. Be very careful with these knives. And what I like to do is to cut the bottom bit off like that. See that? Nice and green. Got to get green wood onto green wood. And what we do is you proceed to just take the bark off like that. And I like to go relatively far up because I like to get plenty of the wood onto the wood. See that? And then what I'm going to do is have a look at this here. Prise that open. Have a good look down there. Right, so what I'm going to do, keeping that nice like that, is I'm going to get my knife and I'm going to proceed to just cut, just gently. Be very careful, as I stated. I like to start up the bit of wood, so if in case I mess this up, I can then just cut down. Right, like that. So I've gone down there. And I like to make this relatively thin because as it grows, it can push the rootstock out. So I'm going to push that in like that. So what you want is you want nice green wood, nice wood onto wood like that. Queen Cox. And there are so many reasons for grafting, and in general the main reason, hello, I'm just going to zoom back out. The main reason for grafting is so you can grow apples true to type, grow your plants true to type, because if you grow a apple plum, cherry, whatever, pear from a seed, it's highly unlikely it will grow true to type. Not many people know that. Most people think that you can put the seed in and it'll grow the same. No, it won't. Just as a person is not a direct copy of their parent, an apple tree is not a direct copy from the seed of its parent, if you understand my meaning. So grafting is a great way, and also with regards to the rootstock, you can choose rootstocks to control the size of the eventual tree. So what we're doing now is you get your grafting tape and you want to make sure it's relatively tight, because what's got to happen is it's got to fuse. It's got to fuse in like that. So it needs to touch, it needs to hold. And generally the time that I've always had most success with grafting is, I believe I heard this off of Stephen Hay's website, the first week in April. So that's the first one. Nice and tight. I seriously recommend people have a go at grafting if they can, because it's very satisfying when you do it. And it's just a nice skill to be able to have. Obviously I'm not a professional grafter, but I have had success with it. So you just do this. And you want to keep it relatively tight. And another thing I like to do, so you got that like that. I've never used grafting wax, I've always just done it this way. But one thing I like to do is, so that water doesn't get down there, is you put it on like that. So different size rootstocks. If you're grafting something that's going to stay in a pot, you want to do on a dwarf rootstock. The vertical cordon for an apple, I believe, is M27. The dwarf is M26. I believe the half standard, so to speak, is, which you wouldn't want to grow in a pot, is MM106. I think there's M11 and one more. Of course these would not be suitable for growing in a pot, so have a look on the Blackmore Nursery website, or indeed any website where you can buy rootstocks, and you can graft onto existing trees as well. They call that top working. So there we go, that is one Queen Cox. So this is now Pitmaster pineapple, and I've gone far down with this. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go even just so that a bit more wood will touch the other wood. Nice. I'm going to push that straight in there. See that? So you want as much wood to touch as possible. You've got to be careful doing this so it doesn't split, which we've all done before, and that's plenty of wood there touching on either side. It goes without saying, when you do this, make sure that you have your scion pointed the right way up. Very easy mistake to make. And we're going to bind this up the same as the other one. But you don't need to see that all. That's the Pitmaster pineapple done. Now time for the Winter King. That's starting to bud out a little bit there already, you see. Right, now what I'm going to do here, there is a name for this, but I'm going to graft 2 onto this one. Might regret doing this, neither of them might take, but I'm very much enjoying trying new things with regards to gardening. Be careful nothing breaks. And that's it. And above all, don't cut your finger. I cut my finger with one of them one year, and I tell you what, it hurts. Bleeds as well. Right, that one like that. And that one is going to go in there like that. Push them in nice and tight. And the chips will fall where they may. So there you go. There's your grafted apple tree. So varieties: Queen Cox, Pitmaster pineapple and Winter King. Please ensure you label what you've grafted. It's very frustrating if you don't. I've done it several times myself. You might think it's not important, but you'll be kicking yourself later on. Now, what am I doing here, you may ask? I'm going to try a little experiment. I'm going to graft another one onto the middle. You may ask, why am I doing this? Why not? Right, damaged the bark there a little bit, but that's not the end of the world, because what I'll do is just tape it harder, and what it will do is it will proceed to heal. Right, get out of there. Now what shall I have? Let's have another. I don't think Pitmaster pineapple is the heaviest cropper. I've already got a Winter King, so let's have a Queen Cox. Same again. Cut the end off. I like to see the green bit there. And what I said, plenty of wood, nice and smooth. I've got to get that in there. want to find the nicest looking. Now, there we go. I'm getting ideas now. I'm going to have 2 queen cocks in the middle. Right. Now, so they're both in there. Buds are all pointing up the right way. So we're going to tape that up now. So there you go. Another queen cox on the middle there. In fact, you're going to have to pull that one up. Push that in. So you can see the amount of varieties there are on there. I imagine at least one of these will take. Very sceptical about the middle bit, but that was purely one of these experimental things that I like to do. But make sure if you do this, you don't cut your fingers, and make sure you label the variety in which you're grafting. Okay, next up is planting out a grapevine cutting. So this cutting was taken last year. Let's see what root we've got. There you go, look at that. That one didn't make it. Look at all that root from that cutting in a year. Stupendous really if you think about it, isn't it? And you can see there, look, that's starting to bud out. And what I'm going to do is set it in the soil here. Now, grapes, they do well in poor soil, and one of the reasons for this is because they are so deep rooted. The thing is, when you find out what's down here, something in there, isn't there? There we go. Very stony ground. So, let's get this. Put it in there. Get that beauty. Because you saw a little bit of grass attached to it. Now, in an ideal world, I'd clear all this grass from around it, but I really do have to start doing some other things expecting in about 3 or 4 years' time some good crops. So the same hopefully is going to happen with this, same variety, Allotments seedless. Let's see what we've got happening here. There's 2 in here. This is why I don't want to be growing too many, because their roots intertwine in one container. There you go. That's the first one. A little bit of new growth there from last year. And here, this one here, it's put up there. And the third one didn't make it. 2 out of 3. Won't complain at that. This one's going to go in here. Still see. There we go. So there's so many things you can learn. And what I'm doing is just showing you things that I have learned over the years. Admittedly, I did have a pretty good start by both sides of my family being gardeners, but you can learn this. There's no reason why you can't. You just imagine this grapevine in a few years producing some beautiful grapes, and you acquired it for free from a silly little cutting you took. Okay, I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to put a bit of all-purpose compost around it just to bridge the gap. There we go. Grow your own vineyard. There you go. Well, that one ended up in a pot. Now, here you go. That's the bit of growth from last year. So you can see most of the growth of this from earlier, you saw it, was in the roots. Nothing will grow from this. So I'm not going to do it now, but probably tomorrow I'll just snip it off there and then grow from there. So you can see we've achieved quite a bit today. Raspberries, the gooseberry and the grapevine in a pot, and a bit about grafting, and managed to set a vineyard, a backyard vineyard. So I hope everybody out there is enjoying their gardening efforts. Got some good weather now. If you like my work, please like, share and subscribe. I appreciate your support. Any comments and questions, leave them down below. Take care, and we will speak soon.